In this video, I will talk about the entity element within a FetchXML statement. Now, entity element is an important attribute, important component basically when you craft an FetchXML code. Now, as you see over here, this is important. You need to have a fetch as the first statement for your FetchXML, and also within FetchXML, you need to have an entity so that you clearly specify which entity are you referring to. Okay, now here we have entity name equal to account, and then you specify the attribute name alternatively. Now but these two statements are important, fetch and entity. Now entity element allows you to specify a property of name, and then here you specify the logical name of the table. As you see here in this example, I have a custom table which is named as G Corp underscore airlines. So the table name is airlines. However, the logical name is G Corp underscore airlines. And that's what I need to specify as the property of name. And once you do that, your fetch XML statement is ready. So you have a property which is of name. Now, let me show you in action. So a simple statement, a simple fetch XML statement, which you see over here, fetch, let me remove this as well. So this is that fetch statement, and we have entity name equal to account. So this is the simplest form of fetch XML statement. So fetch entity name equal to account entity and then slash fetch. You can alternatively specify the attribute name if you do not want to retrieve all the records. Now, let me take this fetch XML, copy this, and go into the XML builder tool, like fetch XML builder tool within XRM toolbox. And here I can just go into this fetch XML window over here. So, or alternatively, I just say new query to new tab. It will open the query builder. Then I will just say view fetch XML, and then this is the fetch XML. Let me paste this fetch XML over here. Let me see if I can execute this. I'll click on execute, and then it says expected non-empty string, parameter name, entity name. Now you cannot directly copy some item over here. Now if you want to craft this URL, craft this fetch XML, then you need to specify the entity over here. Now let me select the entity. Now the entity which I want is account, so I'll just type in account. I don't want the top 50 items, so I will remove this value. And once I execute this, this is the output. So fetch entity name equal to account, it has executed this, and then you have an a list of all the columns for that specific table, which is entity. Now, can I specify any other entity? Yes, you can change this to contact. Okay, and then you can get this fetch XML code executed. Now, directly, if I execute it by changing this, you will see that it is executing on basis of this selection, not on basis of what you edit over here. Okay, now so for that, if you want to change this to account, change this to contact, you just select this and type in contact and contact, execute, and then it will list down all the columns for a contact table. Okay, now this is how you can execute that uh, statement. Now if I just do a right click, add, I can add only comments. Now for this entity contact, I can add an attribute, filter, or order. Now I cannot have multiple entities listed over here, so I cannot say entity name equal to contact or entity name equal to account. So you need to have one account as a reference. Sorry, so you cannot have this statement. So you are executing it as against one particular table, which can be either account or contact or your own custom table. Like I have a table called as airlines. So if I just select airlines over here, the internal logical name is, so let me pick up airlines from here. So AI airlines, and the internal logical name is gcop underscore airlines. Now this is the logical name. Now from where do you get the logical name? You're going to make dot power apps, go into a specific table like airlines, go into the property, and then get the logical name for that particular table. So go into the advanced option and you will see gcop underscore airlines as a logical name. Similarly for attribute, you need to, if you want to get this name, just click on edit column and you get this logical name. Alternatively, if you have the application open, so I already have the application open over here. So then what I can do, I can use a tool, level up for dynamics, and then from here I can get the logical name. I click on logical name and then I can copy this and then I can show that as a part of attribute. So let me show you this. If I just copy gcop underscore name, go into the xrm toolbox, if you see there is an entity name is gcop underscore airlines. If I want to add an attribute, just say add attribute, and the attribute name is, say, name, and you will see that same name gcop underscore name, and it will only list down one column. So if I execute this, it will list down only the name. So that's it, folks. This is how you basically use the entity element within a fetch XML. Entity element has the name of the table for which you are going to execute that fetch XML query. So that's a reference point. That is the base minimum uh, required for you to craft that fetch XML code, because you should know which table are you referencing. Now, other than that, attribute name, this is like not mandatory. If you do not specify, it will list on all the records. If you specify, it will only retrieve only that specified column. If you go to the XRM toolbox tool, fetch XML builder, then here, if I just press space, I get couple of items. Enable pre-filtering, pre-filter parameter name. So if I click on pre-filter parameter name, it says if pre-filtering is enabled, this gives the name of the parameter that will be used. If I click on enable pre-filtering, if this query is being used in SSRS report, then it indicates that the report can be pre-filtered. So these are the parameters which you can specify if you are using SSRS report. So not much used in a general query, but this is what the most used property would be the name, which references the table. So that's it, folks. This is all about entity element within fetch XML. Thanks for watching.